You've been feeling like everything you've built is being taken apart piece by piece, and the truth is, you're not losing anything. You're being prepared for something that simply cannot fit into the life you were living. What looks like a collapse is actually the foundation of a new divine alignment, a movement you cannot control, but that is already underway. You've been carrying a weight that was never yours to bear, and now the old structures are giving way because what's coming next requires a space they can no longer hold. I came to tell you that what you're feeling is not failure, it's a calling. By the end of this message, you will recognize the subtle signs that have been appearing in your life and understand why they've started showing up now. You will finally grasp the hidden pattern that has been blocking your path, even when you've been trying harder than anyone around you. And before we finish, there is a specific declaration about who you are that I need to deliver, because I believe it is the answer your soul has been silently crying out for. Pay attention to the signs. You felt a deep disconnection from your past, as if the people and conversations from before have become noise or scenery that no longer makes sense. There's a constant restlessness, a sense of being disarmed from everything you used to protect yourself or justify yourself to the world. You wake up with the certainty that something has shifted, even though when you look around, the walls still seem the same. These are signs that you are being prepared, that the layers of defense you built to survive are being removed so your true identity can finally breathe. You've been operating under a mechanism of exhaustion that no longer belongs to this phase of your life. For a long time, you believed your worth depended on the strength you applied to hold things in place. You've been pulling ropes that were no longer attached to anything, trying to sustain structures that had already fulfilled their purpose and were ready to fall. Attention!
There is a truth sealed by God for millennia, hidden until the end of times. It's no coincidence you are here. The signs are everywhere, and few are ready for this revelation. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that there's something deeper in the scriptures, this book is your key. But know this is the time. And the vault of the chosen reveals what God sealed for you. Within it, the 7 seals unveil the truth about being a chosen one and the eternal impact of this revelation. And the proof is here. Look how many minds are freed. Yours could be next. Secure your access now. Click the link in the comments or description and unveil these truths.
This pattern of exhausting effort is the diagnosis of your current fatigue. You are not tired from a lack of faith or a lack of dedication. You are tired because your spirit knows the time for brute force is over, but your mind still tries to control the gears of a system that has already been shut down. You've been performing for an audience that isn't paying attention, spending precious energy trying to prove something that, on a spiritual level, has already been validated. Picture a ship that spent years sailing against opposing currents, with its sails stretched to the limit, demanding every drop of sweat from the crew just to keep from being pushed backward. You are that ship. But what you're experiencing now, this collapse, this feeling that everything has stopped, is the command to lower the sails. They've been lowered not so you would drift, but so the right wind, the wind that blows toward your true calling, could finally take the helm. As long as the sails of human effort are raised, the wind of divine purpose has no room to fill your course. You need to understand that the silence that has settled in is not an absence of life. It's the preparation for the movement of a force far greater than your own. If something inside you just aligned with this metaphor, if the image of that ship lowering its sails brought a clarity you can't explain, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let that acknowledgement seal what has just landed. The act of typing those words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type it and come back to me. Something happened to you in this moment. Maybe you don't have words for it yet. Maybe you just feel a weight beginning to dissolve, but something inside you moved, and I came to tell you exactly what it was. You've been trying harder than the people around you, trying to open doors that seem sealed by a mistake that isn't yours. And this collapse you feel is not a defeat. It's the beginning of a rebuilding. You've been feeling sudden waves of deep emotion with no apparent cause. Conversations that once made sense now sound like empty noise, and you've been waking up at the same hour every night, as if there's a frequency calling your name. This is not a problem. It's your system being calibrated. The distance you feel from old cycles is actually an alignment. The hour you wake up is your invitation. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they mean. You will understand the single pattern of exhausting effort that has been blocking what you've been seeking and why you've been operating in a void. And before we finish, there is a declaration I will make directly about your life, and I believe it is the real reason this message reached you at this exact moment. If at least one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at any point in the last few minutes, type the number 777 in the comments. Your fingers typing those digits are your spirit saying yes. It's the smallest agreement, but it's real. Type 777 and come back to me. You've been operating as if you still need to prove something, as if your worth depends on how much energy you spend maintaining things that should have already been released. You've been pulling ropes that aren't attached to anything. You've been performing for an audience that was never paying attention. It's like a ship that, even with the anchor raised, insists on spinning in circles out of fear of letting the current take it into open water. Your sails have been lowered, not because you have no more strength, but because the wind you need to reach your destination is a different wind. A breath that only takes direction when you stop rowing against the tide. If something inside you just sealed, if the image of that ship fell into a place you can't explain, type the words "I am ready" in the comments. Type it and come back to me. The solution is not in more effort, it's not in running faster. It's an unlearning, a softening, a letting go of the ropes that kept you tied to the old dock. Take a deep breath with me. Sit with this for a moment. Let it settle into the part of you that has waited the longest to hear this. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your wordless amen. Not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Send this to that person. Maybe you still don't have words for it, but something inside you moved, and I came to tell you what it was. You carry a question that no one around you has been able to answer, and now you will hear the answer. You've been trying harder than the people around you, and still the door hasn't opened. There is a reason, and you will understand it now. By the end, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they truly mean. You will understand the single pattern that has been blocking what you've been seeking. And before we finish, there is a declaration I will speak directly about your life, and I believe it is the reason this message reached you now. You've noticed things you can't explain, sudden waves of emotion that rise for no apparent reason. Conversations that once seemed normal now sound empty and distant to your ears. You wake up at the same time every night, as if there's a call to a vigil you don't yet understand. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes. It's the smallest agreement, but it's real. 777 is the number of confirmation for what has already been operating in the shadows. What you call a collapse, I call the foundation being exposed. You spent years trying to build on soil that wasn't yours, using tools that weren't designed for your hand. You tried, you insisted, you carried weights that weren't yours, believing that faithfulness meant continuous effort. But the truth is, your fatigue is not a lack of faith. Your fatigue is your humanity recognizing that the route was wrong. You've been trying to force an opening in a door that was not yet your destiny. Picture a ship that spent decades trying to sail in a stone courtyard. You unfurled the sails, you maneuvered the rudder, you shouted orders to a crew that was never there. And now you feel exhausted, stopped, waiting for a wind that never blew, because you were anchored in the dry land of others' expectations. The collapse you feel is the moment the chains holding that ship to the old dock finally break. Type it and come back to me. The solution is not to row harder. The solution is to recognize that the water has finally arrived. What you are living now is an unlearning. It is allowing your soul to return to a state of waiting where alignment happens by gravity, not by force. Take a deep breath with me. Sit with this for a moment. Not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Someone who has been trying harder than everyone around them and still sees the door closed. Someone who walks in a silence that no one around them can explain. Someone whose face just appeared in your mind as I spoke. Send this to that person. The same way it reached you, by notice. You feel the weight of something that has come undone, an old structure that simply cannot hold the life you are ready to live. Often, what we call a collapse is actually the hand of something far greater, removing what was in the way of your true identity. You are not losing anything, you are being cleared. In this encounter, you will recognize the truth behind the fatigue you feel, understand the pattern that kept doors closed for so long, and finally receive the confirmation of your identity that will shift your perception of everything you've lived through until now. Stay with me. What I am about to share is the key to what you have been seeking in silence. You felt a strange disconnection from people and places that were once your safe harbor. There is a restlessness that won't let you sleep, a sense that you are being disarmed, removed from battles that were never yours. If at least one of these signs touched you, if you felt that this message is an echo of what you hold in your chest, type the number 777 in the comments. 777 is the number of the seal, the mark of one who understands that the cleansing process has begun. What you have lived until now was an exhausting effort to keep a clay foundation standing. You operated as if you were the only one responsible for holding up the sky, as if your life depended on the strength of your arms. You confused loyalty with stagnation. You were trying to fulfill the right purpose on the wrong path, insisting on performing for audiences that were never paying attention. This exhaustion is not weakness, it is the sign that your energy has been redirected to something deeper. Picture now, a ship on the open sea. For a long time, the sails were kept stretched by force, hoping to catch a wind that wasn't blowing in that direction. There was fear that if the sails were lowered, the ship would drift. But what you didn't see is that while you forced the course, the ship was stuck in the same place, wearing down its hull against the tide. The revelation today is about lowering the sails. It's about understanding that by stopping the fight against the current, you allow the wind of destiny, which is far more powerful than your own effort, to finally take control and carry you where you truly need to be. If this image of lowering the sails so the right wind can blow made something inside you stabilize, if you feel that unnecessary effort has finally ceased, type the words, "I am ready," in the comments. Let that acknowledgement steady your feet. The act of typing those words makes your commitment to the new alignment real in your own spiritual record. Type it and come back to me. The solution is not in doing more, but in releasing the control you never had. It is the return to simplicity. It is the unlearning of the pressures placed on your shoulders from an early age. You don't need to build your worth because it was already given. You only need to stop hiding behind the defenses you created to survive. Your rebuilding begins the moment you admit that brute force didn't bring you here. It was the invisible care that guarded you. You are now in a state of reception. What comes next is your true trajectory, one that doesn't require you to justify yourself, only to be. The collapse was not the end of your story. It was just the demolition of what was never meant to last, preparing the ground for what is eternal. Hold on to this clarity. The path that opens now is lighter, more lucid, and above all, more yours than any you have ever tried to walk before. Many feel fear when the foundations shake, but you now understand that what collapsed was not your life. It was just the mask of self-sufficiency you needed to wear to avoid being hurt. The fatigue you feel does not come from the walk itself, but from the weight of the armor you decided to carry on your own. There is a frequency of peace that only becomes audible when the noise of your excessive effort finally silences. You have been seeking answers in places that only offer echoes, and that is why, today, the stillness you find feels as strange as it is necessary. Do not look at the emptiness left by the fall of old structures as a loss. See it as a space that was cleared for something greater. You no longer need to explain your absence at tables where you were not seen, nor justify your change to those who preferred your old version. The one that always said yes out of fear of rejection. Your sensitivity, which many called weakness, is the radar that allowed you to perceive the signal before everyone else, not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. Take a deep breath with me. Sit with this relief for a moment. Let this new clarity settle into the part of you that waited so long to be validated for what you truly are, not for what you produce. Think of someone who is exhausted from fighting the current, someone carrying a deep silence and a face that reveals an unending search for meaning, even if that person tries to smile to hide the fatigue. Send this to that person, not as advice, but as a delivery. Perhaps you are the channel for them to also understand that the collapse is not the end, but the preparation for a new level of existence, not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a confirmation. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. The process of disarming requires courage, because the mind insists on believing that without constant effort, everything will collapse. But that is the illusion of one who has not yet realized that your support never came from your own fist. What you call a collapse is actually a structural purification. It is the discarding of what was preventing your blooming. When the chains holding your ship to the port of mediocrity break, the first instinct is despair. You look back and see the loose moorings, the broken cables, and fear that the current will take you into the unknown. But you don't understand that the ship was designed to sail, not to stay docked in shallow waters, where rust consumes the metal and stagnation rots the hull. The wind that blows now is not a storm sent to destroy, but the breeze prepared to fill sails that have been folded for too long. Every sign you felt, every moment of insomnia where the silence seemed to scream a truth you couldn't name, was the fine-tuning of your destiny. You have been operating under a logic of survival inherited from generations that did not have the privilege you have now. The privilege of letting go. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is allowing divine gravity to take the weight that, by right, was never yours. If you feel that your old structure needed to fall so your true self could finally breathe, type the words "I am ready" in the comments. Let that acceptance become the marker of your new position. The acknowledgement you have just formalized by writing those words is the key that opens the door to what is coming. While the world outside stirs in search of superficial certainties, you are being invited to inhabit the unshakable foundation of your own truth, the one that was planted in you long before any external voice tried to tell you who you should be. What unfolds now does not depend on your willpower, but on your ability to remain in a state of readiness to receive the new. Your only responsibility is not to resist the change, not to try to patch up what needs to be left behind. Feel how the air flows differently when you stop fighting the current. Your surrender is a silent gesture of agreement. If this message resonates as a mirror of truth you carry, let your like be your wordless amen. It's not about metrics, it's about the recognition that, among millions of voices, this one found an echo in your spirit at this moment. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this balm right now. Think of that person who has been silently striving, someone carrying an exhaustion no one else notices, a face that holds a pain they insist on hiding behind a polite smile. Their face is appearing in your mind now, not by chance, but by mission. Send this to them, not as someone offering a solution, but as someone delivering a key you just received. Be silent for a brief moment. Let this delivery settle. You don't need to carry the weight of the world, because the hand that holds the stars also holds your journey. You are committed to the truth that has just been revealed. You are sent to walk with the lightness of one who knows the destination is already set. You are being guided by a force that surpasses any human planning. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition and feeling the collapse of their old sails. You are part of a silent awakening that doesn't need noise to be absolute. You are not alone in this crossing. Attention!
There is a truth sealed by God for millennia, hidden until the end of times. It's no coincidence you are here. The signs are everywhere, and few are ready for this revelation. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that there's something deeper in the scriptures, this book is your key. But know this is the time. And the vault of the chosen reveals what God sealed for you. Within it, the 7 seals unveil the truth about being a chosen one and the eternal impact of this revelation. And the proof is here. Look how many minds are freed. Yours could be next. Secure your access now. Click the link in the comments or description and unveil these truths.